My name is Bikram Bedi. I represent Amazon on this platform here. Um, the team asked me to talk about cloud and talk about how cloud computing is impacting the e-commerce world. Uh, 20 minutes honestly is not much. Having said that, I was very excited to come here and address this audience and talk about some of our experiences in the cloud world and how we've helped companies scale from startups to uh, very large startups at this point in time. So I'm going to take the next 20 minutes. I've tried to mix it up a little bit. I've taken into consideration that the audience would be a section which is already deep dive into e-commerce, and then there would be a section which is just starting out. So I've tried to mix it up a little bit. Bear with me either ways if you find it too simplistic or if you find it too complex. Happy to answer questions at the end of this. So like I said, I represent Amazon Web Services. I head up the region for India and South Asia. And we about 8 years ago, after running Amazon.com for about 10 years, we discovered that we had built this, this capability to run these large global applications, which is .com. And we thought that why would we not want to go out there and actually offer this as a business to other companies to use our platform to then go out there and offer e-commerce, digital, online services to their customers. So that's how we started out. Today, most analysts tend to think that we're the leaders in this space. We've been here 8 years. We've now got 40 plus services. Most of my presentation is not going to be about Amazon per se. I'm going to try and bring back examples from customers that we're seeing. So this is definitely not a sales pitch. I'm going to try and see how I can keep it interesting in terms of customer use cases. All right, let's quickly talk about cloud computing. What is cloud computing? Simple analogy is electricity. You don't produce your own electricity anymore. You go out there, you work with experts who can produce electricity in a much more optimum, scalable, and cost-effective delivery mode. And then you go in there, you hook onto the electricity grid, you take what you need, you walk into this room, you turn on the lights, you pay for the electricity bill for only the lights. You turn on the air conditioning, you pay for the air conditioning. You switch off the air conditioning, you don't pay for the air conditioning. It's a utility model. That's exactly what cloud computing is as far as IT is concerned. You use a server, you use 3 servers, you use data warehousing, you use big data, storage, databases, whatever. You just pay for what you use. So that's exactly what cloud computing is all about. You're going out there and you're working with experts who can deliver IT services to you in a secure, scalable, and robust fashion. Quickly, couple of characteristics on cloud, because honestly, there is so much out there today which is called cloud. Honestly, a lot of people are just putting lipstick on a pig out there, repainting the older solutions and saying this is cloud. Fact is, if you're looking at a cloud solution, then these are the 6 characteristics of a cloud solution. If these are not there, then chances are you're not really using cloud. You've just been recycled an old-fashioned IT solution. The first is there's no upfront capital expense, zero capex, which works very well for the e-commerce, online, digital space, because I don't think, we have some brilliant ideas, but we aren't very sure it's going to go succeed. So are we going to go invest 1 crore, 2 crore, 5 crores, 10 crores, whatever it takes to try out that idea? Most of us would say no, right? So no upfront expense as far as CapEx is concerned. It's a totally operational expense model. The cost is low. And I'll talk more about this. This is absolutely essential because you want a model where you start low and then scale. You pay only for what you use. I spoke about this. It's like the electricity grid. You switch on, switch off. It's a self-service infrastructure. You should have the ability to go in there, deploy what you need, work on it. It's a cookie cutter approach. It's automated. So all of that is self-service. It should be easy to scale up and down. Now, this is critical when you talk about the cloud. It has to have the ability to go up, and it has to have the ability to then come down when your peak goes away. So, for example, on your Facebook page, you put out something which goes viral, which starts impacting your, sales or other whatever, users coming onto your websites. You need to have the ability to go from 5 to 500 to 5,000 to 5 million within minutes. You can't be calling up your data center or your IT team and saying, listen, I need more servers, because you don't have the time. Because that peak is only going to last for maybe 3 hours, 6 hours. You run a flash sale. You run a flash sale, you put it out there, next 2 hours, XYZ brand 50% off, and you get a huge peak. Now, if you don't have the ability to scale, the opportunity cost of losing all those customers is huge, right? So you need to have a solution which can scale up. But then a lot of solutions can do that, but then you also need to have a solution which scales down. When you switch off the air conditioning, you don't pay for the air conditioning. So that's exactly how this works. You switch off the air conditioning, don't pay for it. Your peak goes away, you don't pay for IT resources anymore. Extremely important. And the last one there is improved agility and time to market. You need to have the ability to get out there within minutes. So every time you think of a new idea, you don't have to wait for provisioning of IT resources. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour, a week, you're up and running, depending on what you're looking to do. And the other thing is time to market, agility. Getting out there in terms of a global basis. Today, if you look at cloud computing, it gives you the ability to go global. I'll give you an example. Ramco, I'm sure most of you have heard of them. They're a traditional company, and they decided to get into the cloud space where they're offering ERP on the cloud. Needed to set up an operation in Latin America. Option one, go set up a data center, go set up lots of IT equipment, then go hire a sales team, and then go out there and do it. Option two, set it up in the cloud. Get out there, within a couple of days, up and running. All you need to do is hire salespeople. That's how they did it. Phenomenal results for them. So the ability to go global with the cloud is huge. Today we have customers in India who are running US operations out of India, the likes of InMobi. They have operations globally. VServe, Zido. These guys are all in the ad serve business. I think lots of you would know them. They're using the cloud to get out there and address a global audience. The gentleman on screen is our CEO and founder, Jeff Bezos. I'm sure most of you would have heard of him. What's important is back there on the screen behind him. Extremely critical. He talks about, the most radical and transformative of inventions are those that empower others to unleash their creativity and to pursue their dreams. What that really means is that each one of you in this room who's going down that digital world has some brilliant ideas, has some creative ideas. And you need to have the ability to unleash them onto the world. You need to have the ability to execute them. And the cloud really gives you that ability. That's what cloud does for you as entrepreneurs. Let's talk of a few people, a few examples, companies who've gone out there and who've unleashed that creativity. This is a company who said that what if we were to reinvent? What if we were to reinvent how people share and collaborate? I'm sure all of you have heard of these guys, right? They run off the cloud platform with Amazon. 100 plus million users, over 1 billion files are saved in every 24 hours in their network. They've doubled their size in the 12 months from 2012 to 11 to 12. I'm sure the numbers are even more staggering if you look at the 2013. This is another company who said that what if we were to reinvent how people create and socialize their experiences. Again, I'm sure you must have heard of these guys. Instagram, they had $1 billion exit. All of us must have heard of that. In just 1 year, they amassed 14 million users, right? And then they went out there and put an Android launch. And in that Android launch, they got 1 million users in a 12-hour period. Now that's scalability. That's going like this. Because you've got these users coming in, and if you don't have the ability to service them, the opportunity cost of doing this is wasted. At 30 million users, they still had only 3 operational engineers. That's it. And this is a while back. So they were running a 30 million user operation. All they had were 3 people. Today they have 150 million users, and that IT team or those engineers haven't grown by much. This is another one. They've unleashed creativity. How do we manage birds that are not happy? I'm sure all of you would have guessed by now which one this is. Angry Birds runs off the Amazon platform again. The important thing to note here is Angry Birds was game number 51. They failed 50 times before that. They put out 50 games and didn't do very well with those. They weren't as well known as Angry Birds. But number 51 worked for them, right? Which brings me to my next point, that if you want to increase innovation, that's how Joyto says it, you have to lower the cost of failure. Today, one of the biggest issues, and especially when you get into the digital world, because the cost of failure is high, we're scared. We're scared to innovate because what if we fail? It's going to cost us 3 crores, 5 crores, 10 crores, whatever. We've tried something, it hasn't worked, and we failed. Now, if you take away that fear of failure, if you take away that cost of failure, and if that cost of failure becomes this, then the ability to innovate becomes this. And that's exactly what cloud drives. And that's exactly what happened with Angry Birds. They had the ability. Try that in a traditional world. Try doing 50 new projects before you succeed. That's close to, you need some very deep pockets to do that. So, which brings me to my next point of what can you do with this stuff, What can you do with cloud if you're starting or you're already using it? I've picked up a few basic things. Again, like I said, 20 minutes is never enough. I can speak, the whole day on this topic. But yeah, if you talk about some key things that if you're already in the cloud space, if you're already in the e-commerce space, if you're starting to get there, these are a few things that I can talk about. The first is prototyping, right? All of you must have heard of A and B testing. This is what Amazon.com used to look like back in 1995. This is what the web page looked like. How many of you would buy off this web page today? Very few, right? This is what the web page looks like today. Why? Because we've evolved. We've evolved by constantly prototyping, testing. You don't need large investments to prototype. It should be cheap and it should validate your ideas. That's what prototyping is all about. So this is a typical example of A and B testing. For those of you who are aware, for those who are not, what happens typically in the digital world is that, let's say you decide where should the buy button be. Do I put it on the left-hand side, the right-hand side, next to the shopping cart? Where do I put it? Simplistic example. Now, you want to test it out with live feeds, live users. So what you can do is, the first 100,000 go on to this particular flow, and the second 100,000 go to this one, and the third could go to another. And these are all separate parallel infrastructures that you've set up. Now, imagine doing this in the traditional world. The amount of money it would cost you would be huge. When you're talking about the cloud, you're talking about moving like this. The ability to move quickly, within minutes, set up a new parallel stack. The next set of 50,000 users go on there. Keep experimenting, keep figuring out which one works. And when you're ready, just finalize on that stack. Everything else, switch off the air conditioning. You don't need to pay for that anymore. So that's what this is about. So prototyping is a key aspect of being in the cloud world when you're running digital properties. Security, I keep getting asked this question all the time, how secure is the cloud? There's a lot of FUD out there which talks about, the cloud is not secure, the cloud is not secure. Let me put this in perspective. There's nothing out there, and I firmly believe this, there's nothing out there which is 100% secure. There's nothing that you can stamp and say 100% secure, done. There are bad people out there. They're going to continuously do bad things, and you have to keep evolving. You have to keep evolving to ensure that those bad people are kept out, right? So that's what security is all about. Now, if you look at the scale at which Google or Amazon or Microsoft are running these operations, these are huge setups. I can talk for Amazon. I wouldn't have details for the others, but we run what we call regions. We run 10 regions globally, 4 in America, 1 Latin America, Ireland, Australia, Japan, Singapore, China. There's 10 of them. Each region is a multitude of data centers. So if I was to say, for example, New Delhi is a region, then there would be a data center sitting in Gurgaon or Manesar. There would be another one in Noida, maybe a third in Ballabgarh or Meerut, another one wherever. So it's a multitude of low latency links which link up these data centers, which actually are, the way this functions is that if one was to go down, the other keeps running, right? That's how this operates. Now, all up, there's about anything between 25 to 30 data centers that we run on a global basis. Honestly, not too many global organizations would be running that scale, right? This is one of them, Pfizer. The biggest asset of any pharma company is the IP, right? You take away the IP of a pharma company, they don't have much, because everybody will just reverse engineer those drugs. Pfizer runs their R&D workloads off the Amazon platform. That's a huge tick mark for security, huge tick mark for security. And the other thing here is that, again, I can speak for Amazon. So we have the likes of Samsung, Netflix, Pfizer, Shell, Levers, Tata Motors, all large customers, who are running off our platform. Now, when they walk up to us, let's say Netflix walks up to us. Netflix is a huge customer. Netflix is about 25% of the internet traffic in the US. And Netflix walks up to us and says, I need these 3 things done from a security perspective. Once we do them, the entire platform upgrades. It's a tribal upgrade. So everybody on the platform gets the same security. So if you're running on the same platform, you're going to be actually getting the same security feature as a Netflix, a Samsung, a Shell, a Pfizer, and all the other names out there. A lot of people tell us our security posture has actually improved after we've come to the cloud. Because the ability for Amazon or a Google or I wouldn't take too many other names, but the ability for, the cloud vendors to do this is much larger than anybody else. Analytics is the other big thing. I heard the panel before me, they were all talking about, how do you take data and how do you analyze it. Now, this is key. This is how it used to be done in the old world. And today you're talking about big data, you're talking about log stream analytics, data warehousing, all of that. One of the key things to note here is that today, I think the differential between a successful e-commerce company and a not so successful e-commerce company is how well do you know your customers? How well do you understand their needs? And how well can you satisfy those needs? And those are only going to be coming through big data, log stream analytics, data warehousing, and all of these. Right? There was a time these solutions were very expensive. With the cloud, they're available. Data warehousing, for example, we have a product called Redshift, available as low as $1,000 a terabyte a year. Now, it can't get cheaper than that. You have a data warehousing need, go try it. It works for you, great. It doesn't work for you, walk away. The cost of failure is this much. Same for big data. You can run a 100-node cluster at $8 an hour. A 100-node cluster to do big data crunching. $8 an hour, that's pretty much it. Right? So like I said, the cost of failure is here. So your ability to, another customer in India, booked my show, met with them a couple of years ago actually. We realized that, they had a lot of logs and they were not doing much with those. And that's a gold mine of information. And they started using the data warehousing platform that we have. And sure enough, there's so much intelligence for them now. They know who's watching what kind of movies. You're now getting, a much proactive response from them. So they have a case study published on us. So please go read that if you want to. User experience is the other thing. The cloud can really help you with this. Content delivery networks, video and audio transcoding. These are 2 areas I thought I could highlight. CDNs are essentially, cache and delivery networks. So if you're running, let's say, Snapdeal, so Snapdeal is going to stay up there every time you're buying from Snapdeal. Option 1, it could go right up to the origin server, pick up all content, come back. Option 2, you could put a cache in the middle where all the content which is static could just sit there, or even dynamic, which is replicable, and then it could keep coming back. So net result, your users get service much faster. It's a better buying experience, and we all know that's what matters in this world. So if you're running digital stuff, definitely consider content delivery networks. There's enough vendors out there who are doing that. And then, of course, transcoding. Mobility is big these days. 6-inch screens are coming in. One of the key factors is video. You may be using video to sell. You may be putting out video. Option 1, this is a video, throw it out there. It looks like what it looks like, whether you're using a tablet or you're using an iOS device or whatever else. That's what it looks like. That's the user experience. Option 2, I customize the experience to the form factor of the device. So if I'm using a Samsung Galaxy, then it should look good on that. I'm using an iPhone, it has a different form factor, it should look good on that. That's option 2. That's called transcoding, for those of you who may not know. Transcoding services are available, extremely reasonably priced, a couple of cents a minute. So you want to put out, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes of video, it costs you next to nothing, but it's a much better user experience for your customers. And the last thing is, of course, price. Cloud gives you the ability to lower costs with smart pricing and even smarter architectures. Now, this is important. Again, the panel before me was talking about technology, pricing, how that's a deterrent. Sometimes cloud gives you the ability to do that. That's an Indian customer of ours, high value exit. Again, not published, but yeah, they've done well. They're running off the Amazon platform again, and they've published a case study out there which talks about 30 to 40% savings on cost. Now that's huge, and I have to explain this to you. A lot of vendors will talk about, oh, you're running X, I can give you a 40% saving. This is 30 to 40% saving on their own IT bills from Amazon, right? So if they were paying me, let's say $1, they're now paying me 60 cents. Why? Because the cloud allows you to do that. This is probably the only IT distribution methodology where prices keep dropping. So if you look at us, we've had 42 price cuts in the last 7 years, because this works on a Amazon flywheel. That's what Jeff Bezos calls it. Every business that we build at Amazon is built on the Amazon flywheel. So what happens is you have more customers. Because you have more customers, the economy of scale is obviously better. So you have the ability to do business at a lower price point. Now you could either book it as profits, or you could give it back to customers in price cuts. This is the retail business. We are a retail company. Honestly, that's what we are. We're in the retail business. And when you lower prices, you have more customers. So the Amazon flywheel keeps operating, and it gives you the ability to bring in more and more customers. It's a little unique to the traditional IT world where price cuts, transparent price cuts don't really happen. Most customers tell me, what's the catch? There is no catch. We've dropped prices. It's going to come to you. You don't need to call us and say, listen, my February bill or my March bill didn't have the price cut. It's just going to flow to you automatically, whether you're a new or an old customer. So extremely important feature of the cloud. And then, of course, you're standing on the shoulder of giants, and this is important to understand. So if you look at the left-hand side of your screen, these are Indian companies, and they're getting the same as these global companies. So if you look at the likes of Hungama, Dhruva, well-known Indian brands, were startups at one point in time. Same durability as a Dropbox or a Samsung. If you look at Wembu, MPS, same security as a NASA or a Shell, who are also using the Amazon platform. If you look at vServe, Zenga, again, like I said, Zido, a number of names out there. Scalability as an Instagram or an Airbnb, who are using the platform as well. Redbus, Glasshill, Pinterest, Flipboard, and lastly, of course, reliability, where we're talking of the likes of Excelsoft, getting the same as Unilever or a Yelp. And it's just not the e-commerce space. When you're talking about Indian companies who are benefiting, a couple of logos, I can only fit those many there, but yeah, the likes of Snapdeal, Zovi, who are in the e-commerce space, are using the same platform as .com or Etsy. Talk to InMobi, BSB. These guys are doing consumer apps. You must be using them on your mobile. And again, these are all referenceable customers, ladies and gentlemen. We have a policy at Amazon. If the customer is not referenceable, we don't name them. So there's hundreds of thousands of customers who are not referenceable, and hence we don't name them. But these are the referenceable ones. They're kind enough to let us use their names and logos, so we're using them. But yeah, talk to InMobi, the same in the consumer app space. India Games, Playblazer, NDTV, Eros in the media space, Hindustan Times, Malayalam Manorama. And then, of course, the likes of Ramco, Wipro, Newgen, Indian ISVs who are building businesses off us. So the cloud space is really taking all of these and allowing them to do different things.